Welcome to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined in this episode by Yaron Penn, who's a co-founder at Hortica, their precision horticultural company. How are you keeping today, Yaron?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here, Owen. It's a
I'm
pleasure.
delighted to talk to you. You guys have some incredible technology. Do you maybe want to give everybody a little overview of how you ended up founding Hortica and what the purpose of the company is?
I will be glad. Myself, I'm coming from an academic background. I have my PhD and postdoc in neuroscience. During my PhD, part of my research was around addiction, drug addiction in general, more specific, and this drove me actually. Back then, it was already more than 15, 17 years ago, to the medical cannabis, which was just started back then in Israel. And after having a few ventures in the medical cannabis field, I decided to focus on the raw material itself, and this is what drove me to establish Hortica.
Very interesting. I'm going to jump straight in. Can we explain what a GaaS model is, a GaaS model? What is a grow as a service model, and how can everybody understand it?
Sure. So we are not, Hortica is a technological company in the field of controlled environment agriculture. One of our focuses is around cannabis, but this is our field is also focused on local food security. And when we talk about grow as a service means that we tailored the project for a specific client, for specific geography, for specific regulation. And then the end user, he doesn't need to be an expert in that grow field. And if we are going back to cannabis, we know, at least in the US, it's more common when people talk about all those grow experts. And so here with our system, there is no need for the end expert in terms of is it in general, the whole system is being managed remotely, and it's operating more like a server farm than a real farm. So.
Okay. For everybody who hasn't seen something like this, it basically allows an entrepreneur who might not have extensive cultivation experience to be able to say, I'm actually going to be able to develop a flower product. I don't need the expertise. I can bring in your software, your hardware, the Internet of Things capabilities, and the precise management of each individual strain and nutrients, depending on whatever location and target audience you have.
It's completely right. You described it very nice, Owen. And a customer can think of the system as a 3D printer. Getting the right genetics and pushing the right button for protocol, and then it's run actually also hands off. And this is part of the process. We are training technicians in the end of support of the system, but we take also the responsibility on the grow, and this is done remotely, as you mentioned, through the IoT, which sits in the heart of the system. This very unique control card that we developed. Again, it's not specific only for cannabis, but it's now today is the most advanced control card in agriculture. And this gives us the ability actually from one control center to control those growth, doesn't matter where they are in the world. I'm now sitting with you, I'm in Israel located now, I'm controlling our facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma in real time. And
And I would imagine that it's a very advantageous product for people who might want to go vertical, who might not have an expansive space, and for a host of other things such as saving on electricity or water or nutrients. And if it's precision managed, then the waste and the overhead will have to be minimized.
So this is actually where the advantage of the system comes. Also, when we compare to competitors today or what exists today on the market, and this goes to our basic pattern of environment within environment, and and growing in those closed loop modules. So instead of dealing with a huge volume of a warehouse building where the plants themselves only take very little space out of this huge space needs to be dealt. With Hortica, because we broke it, we are only dealing with 1/10 to 1/15 of this volume. This brings a very big reduction in the cost of electricity needed to be this is one of the biggest, as indoor growers familiar, expenses in the end is electricity. So the efficiency, and the second is the efficiency of the growth that we go. So we go to a very short cycles in the way that we don't grow big plants, but we grow in a method similar to a sea of green, many short plants per square meter, per box. We call it growing the top of the muffin. So we are only growing the central flower. And this is also how we get the standardization between that. We get to already in Oklahoma to a 60 days cycle, including drying. And this is the second and the most, I don't know if to say the most, but the system is the only system in the world that the drying is part of the process, of the same process it's being done before harvest. So the system finishes 7 weeks of grow and switches to a drying mode. Then the drying is being done before harvest when they are still standing, maximizing both terpene levels, but also visually, we are not losing trichomes in this most sensitive part. And this is also the most sensitive part in terms of risk management in catching contaminations. So harvest is being done box by box only after drying. And this is a huge advance. And this is also reduce the need for having drying rooms and
Oh, it's incredible. On a time scale, what is the time scale from first initially planting seed to cultivation to drying? And what's the quantities that one component can hold?
So we are talking about in the system, we are starting with propagation room, but in the end it will be actually on those, we call it the ink. The ink will come from one central propagation facility in order not to have it in any facility. It will come as cassettes, and introducing this cassette, which is a rooted clone, okay, in the size and shape. It's 8 weeks, including for most strains, 8 weeks, 60 days, including drying, and with at least half a kilo, 500 gram per box per cycle of 2 months, including the drying. We achieved something that not many indoor growers achieve. Beautiful result with sativa strains. They take a little bit longer, but when we talk in our system a little bit longer, it's a week longer, but they give higher yields actually than the indica strains. And we are achieving above in the US, where the focus is on THC, high THC as possible. We are achieving above 25, 27%, about 28 total cannabinoids with 2% terpenes, and it's a play with lower THC, lower cannabinoid strain, we get to higher terpene levels. So in one of them, we reached almost 5% THC, cannabinoids, terpenes, my apology, levels.
It really is incredible technology. I wanted to move on to now your position on the editorial board at the Journal of Cannabis Research by the Nature Group. Can you tell us a little bit about this organization and what the work that is that they do?
So the journal is an academic peer-reviewed journal, part of Nature Group by Springer Publishing, that publish research from botanical research up to clinical related to cannabis, cannabinoids. Each year I'm doing something like 3-4 reviews for them on a paper for publishing, again ranging from genetics, from plant genetics, and up to pharma. And actually, I had the honor to be invited, where I'm the only one, which is only board advisory editorial board member, which is affiliated to the industry and not from the academia. Together with me, there are all the, including was Professor Meshulam, which is not with us anymore, but Professor El Suhail from Mississippi, and all the rest of the most prominent researcher in the field. And it's an honor, a big honor to contribute.
Yeah, another publication everybody should be checking out and going to search. You guys have a partnership with the German Institute of AI and Robotics. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on what that partnership outlines and the benefits for both parties?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. As I mentioned, Hortica is first controlled environment agriculture technological company with the German Institute of Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, the DFKI. It is the institute is part of Bremen University, sits under Bremen University. The head of the institute, Professor Frank Kirschner, also sit on our advisory board of the company. The institute is actually focusing mainly on extreme environments, space, and deep water. This is their core. And with them, we are looking on we took an IP for a robot, for an imaging robot that we are now working on introducing to the system to replace the robot that we are currently using. And the second is with them, they actually just order a system for their multifunctional hall. It should be a platform for developing technologies, and when we look for the future at space agriculture.
The technology you guys have, it really is very impressive. The more you research, I've talked to over 250 people on this podcast, and this is one of the most exciting bits of tech that I've come across. So I've no doubt that the Hortica name is going to be around for a long time to come. Anybody who doesn't know more or wants to know more about Hortica, you can visit the website. The link is below. It'll be wherever you view or listen to this podcast. What is the German market the exciting thing for you guys this year to see what the rules look like in April?
So most definitely. The new development in the German recreational market, and more specifically the model that is going to be employed, are of great interest and potential for our technology. Based on the club model that is going to be adopted, it means that most of all cultivation should be done in Germany, in contrast to medical cannabis program, which can be imported also. Second, each club, in a club we talk about up to 500 members, each can purchase up to 50 grams per month. So it puts the consumption of a club at maximal 25 kg, and they need to, each club needs to grow for himself. And this is, with our system, those modular system takes the burden of them and enable also brands, although different location, but the system enabled to have the same quality, the same results, and with very low risk, and our ability also to offer in a very confined space. And this is a small grow facility that supplies 25 kg per month, to be able to supply more than 10 strains simultaneously, working in these small batches and still being constant and safe and above organic, most importantly. Not most importantly, but it's important to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been fantastic talking to you, Yaron. I'll be definitely keeping my eye on your technology over the coming months, and I wish you nothing but success.
It is most appreciated. It was a real pleasure. Aaron, you mentioned it was actually for me the most pleasure interview I had. So thank you for that.
Happy days. It was my pleasure as well. Until next episode, everybody.